Hi, everyone. Hi. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. It's the holiday week and supposed to be a festival and celebratory time. But I'm afraid I'm going to tell you a sad story. Um, here's a quote. If they tell you to kneel, you must kneel. If you insist on standing up, it's considered a compulsive mental disorder. They will forcibly send you to a mental hospital and subject you to electroshock treatments. Those are the words said by Miss Li Yixue, the 20-year-old young woman from Jiangxi, whose whereabouts has been on the mind of hundreds of millions of Chinese. Her struggle against China's corrupt law enforcement system and mental hospitals is awakening the country in an unprecedented way. Her sudden disappearance and precarious situation have alarmed people who realize that the entire country, with hundreds of millions of citizens, is unable to protect themselves from corrupt police. This young woman's ordeal is yet another reminder that Big Brother can use mental institutions to silence us, making us disappear by labeling us as mentally ill. Miss Lee's quote I gave you at the beginning reminds me of George Orwell's novel 1984, in which a prison officer asked the protagonist what 2 plus 2 equals. He said 4 and was then beaten and tortured. Finally, he said 5. He said 2 plus 2 equals 5 and was thus released. The prison officer in the book said that knowing that he would be beaten for giving the correct answer, yet he insisted on giving the correct answer. So this prisoner, from the perspective of the prison officer, was a lunatic. Therefore, beating him until he lies was a mental treatment. Now, 1984 was an English novel, but the Chinese people are living that reality today. That's exactly what's happening in China today. So let's talk about Miss Li Yixue. I'll call her Miss Li because calling her full name is, I think, it's a mouthful to say. She was actually supportive of the government and was formerly a patriotic little pink, according to some people, because she believed in her government and the ideas it represents. Her ordeal began in mid-March 2022 when she reported a civil dispute to a local police station in Nanchang. The police dismissed her civil case, but Ms. Li was persistent and she continued to visit the station for updates. On April 14th that year, she met Auxiliary Officer Li, who called her the next day, claiming that he could help her with the case and suggested that they meet. It was during a strict COVID-19 lockdown, and Miss Li was staying in a nearby hotel. So she proposed meeting the officer in the lobby of the hotel. The officer insisted on her room, citing privacy concerns. So when Officer Li showed up in her room, he wore casual clothes without body camera, without his uniform. And after discussing the case briefly, Li made inappropriate advances, offering to solve her case or resolving her case if she agreed to be his girlfriend. Ms. Li resisted and threatened to report him to the authorities. And then the two remained in a state of tug-of-war in the hotel room. The officer eventually left the room at 6 a.m. the next morning. Ms. Li reported the incident to the police station a few days later. She then was forcibly detained and sent to Jiangxi Provincial Mental Hospital, where she was detained for 56 days. On June 17th, 2022, she was finally discharged and taken home by her father. After her release, Li underwent evaluations at a hospital in Nanchang and another mental health institution. Both evaluations relieved her of any mental health problems. She was healthy. She then filed a lawsuit against the Jiangxi Provincial Mental Hospital. She didn't hire a lawyer and was defending herself at the court. She was eloquent and intelligent. That shows she didn't have any mental health problems. And then the chief of the police station threatened her family that they would send her to an asylum if she doesn't stop or didn't stop. And they say that the asylum can keep her detained until the day she dies. Therefore, Ms. Li brought her experience at the mental hospital to social media, exposing the atrocities that took place there. She revealed that about half or over half of the patients at Jiangxi Provincial Mental Hospital was perfectly normal people sent there by the police. And there were individuals who had argued with staff over access passes during COVID lockdowns. Remember, there were times when people were given access pass when they had to leave their home or had to return to their home. So those people who argued with the staff regarding the access pass were sent to the mental institutions. There were also disgruntled citizens who petitioned the government for the abuses of their rights, for over a variety of issues, not having access to their bank accounts or bank deposits, or not getting the real estate properties that they bought, so on and so forth. And those individuals who had verbal altercations with police officers. So these individuals who didn't have any mental health problems suffered inhumane treatment at the mental institution. The doctors and nurses used various cruel methods to torture them, such as denying them access to bathrooms, forcing them to live in feces and urine, and injecting them with drugs to destroy their memory and mental faculties or functions. And the medical staff also experimented with new drugs in the development stage on these patients. And some male medical staff sexually assaulted female patients every day. And the most horrifying part is that the hospital profited significantly by, quote unquote, treating these normal individuals sent in by the police. So despite facing constant surveillance, intimidation, and threats, Ms. Li continued to expose online how authorities use mental hospitals to persecute ordinary citizens. She said that the outcome of her case concerns every Chinese citizen's their right to personal freedom. She still believed in the system. She still believed that she could win her case. And she said, today they sent me to a mental hospital. Tomorrow they could send you. And when the police and mental hospitals work together, they can take anyone. Ms. Li certainly understands the risk she took by exposing this. And she once said during her live stream that if she disappears one day, it's not because that she had it's not because she would end her life, but it's because they have killed her. So then on December 14th, Ms. Li posted 2 videos urgently asking for help, crying for help. She said over a dozen male policemen broke into her home and she was alone. The videos were then quickly deleted. and people have not heard from her since. Her disappearance started an internet frenzy as people started to look for her. Under pressure, the local police bureau issued a statement a few days later saying Miss Li was at home and was visited by the local community office daily, and that her father has been communicating with the visiting officials and that she was fine. However, her friends didn't agree that she was fine because they couldn't get in touch with her. Some went to her home and found that the door was locked and that no one was home. Delivery packages were left outside, indicating that it's been a while since someone was home. So where is Li Yixue? The entire country was looking for her. And there have been various sensational claims. Some say she's being tortured somewhere until she breaks down, and then will be sent back to the mental institution. What's worse is that her friends and supporters also got into trouble. A woman named Chen Li, who is a friend in Beijing, posted a video on December 19th saying that if people didn't, if she didn't appear in a live stream the following day, that means that she was also detained. And guess what? Miss Chen never showed up again. Now, Miss Chen is in Beijing, so this means that the Jiangxi police has already contacted the police in Beijing, and it's already a national police operation against this young woman. A young man from Henan who was very touched by her story went to look for Miss Li was also detained, and those who sent her money and gifts were threatened. And then on December 22nd, the Nanchang police issued a notice announcing that Miss Li was given a psychiatric evaluation and was found to suffer a compulsive disorder and a personality disorder, and was sent back to the mental institution for medical treatment. The last announcement from the authorities angered the public. Netizens expressed that they felt crushed for not being able to protect this young woman who spoke the truth. Chinese men and women stepped up to voice their support in a way that has not been seen before. A netizen from Jiangxi province protested by declaring not to have children. And he wrote, "With this situation, you still want us to have children? I would not encourage or urge my children to get married or have children, because in such an environment, we cannot protect our descendants. So what's the point of having children?" Another wrote, "On this Christmas Eve, which should be filled with peace and joy, we're forced to focus on the tragic story that Miss Li was once again detained or sent to a mental hospital. We have pain and anger in our hearts." A young scientist, actually I have pictures, a young scientist from Tsinghua University, and by the way, this is the mental hospital where she was sent to. And this was the young woman, I think her friend, one of her supporter who got into trouble. And here's her grandfather issuing a statement on the day after the police announced that she was sent to she was sent back to the mental institution. Her grandfather issued a statement saying that they raised Miss Li and know her very well, that she is healthy, she's mentally healthy, and does not suffer from any psychiatric conditions. And this young man, who is a scientist from the renowned Tsinghua University in Beijing, released 4 videos in 2 days to express his full support for Miss Li. And he said, Miss Li's story shattered his worldview. And he called on all those who have suffered from psychiatric persecution to step forward and speak up. And he called Miss Li a ray of hope and said that if the world is shrouded in darkness, he is willing to give everything he has to save that ray of hope. On December 23rd, a lawyer supporter whose name is Fang Jian, who was live streaming updates about Miss Li, was violently kidnapped by the police and taken into police custody. At that time, 4,000 people, were alive. I mean, because he live streamed the whole event, and the lawyer was defiant. So eventually, the police had to release him because 4,000 people were watching. I think this is a big step forward. This is a big accomplishment for the Chinese people in their struggle, with the government. And another netizen from Guangdong wrote, thousands and thousands of Li Yixue will rise up and speak out. We, the people, will never give up defending our legal rights. Li Yixue, you are the light that has illuminated everyone. Sorry, I get a little emotional. Because I realized today, this could be me. If I didn't leave China, this could be me. Yeah, if my parents didn't send me to study in the US, this could be me. Okay, anyways. So this man wrote, you are the light that has illuminated everyone, and you will forever inspire us. If they restrict and remove our posts online, repost. If they restrict us again, repost again. If they completely restrict us, repost for a third time. So there are many posts like this in which people express their defiance and commitment to standing up for their rights and supporting Ms. Li. And there is even a law firm from another province that asked the Nanchang police to release more information on Ms. Li. So we still don't know where she is. Let's hope she's safe and well. But unfortunately, various sources have said that the hospital couldn't force her to take medications or the electroshock methods or treatment didn't work on her. So they removed the front lobe of her brain. So she was subject to brain surgery, and they removed the front lobe of her brain, which is the part located at the front of the cerebral cortex behind the forehead. And that part of the brain is involved in various higher cognitive functions, such as reasoning, planning, problem solving, and emotional regulation. So the individual, and this is confirmed by various sources. Of course, we cannot confirm because the CCP would never let us know what exactly happened to her. But various individuals have said the same thing, and the person one of them who released the information said this, and they wrote, "You will never see that beautiful, eloquent, and determined young lady anymore. She won't remember. I mean, she's still alive, but she won't remember anything, nor will she feel any emotional pain anymore." So there are many videos online about her. So I asked Chris to. So this is 22 seconds of her talking. And I just want to give you an idea of her determination and who she is as a person.
我的事情到目前为止，全网播放量早就破了10亿。如果说连我都赢不了，那全国所有被精神病受害者将没有任何的希望。这就是我到现在为止还没有妥协的原因。如果你觉得周围一片漆黑，那我便是那唯一的一束光。如果有人想灭了我的光，那断的就是所有人的路。
She's very eloquent. She said, yeah, she's very philosophical and eloquent. I mean, there's no way she has mental health issues. She didn't even need a lawyer to defend herself. I mean, she said, I don't need a lawyer. I can defend myself, and I think I will win. So this is a very courageous young lady. I mean, it's unbelievable and extremely smart and beautiful. So that's about her. So now I want to talk about the political abuse of psychiatry in China. It's not news. The CCP publicly admitted it. On May 28th, 2010, Chinese Police Network posted an article called, actually, I have a screen. Yeah, here's the article. It titled "Mental Hospitals Cannot." It says from Public Security Ministry, mental hospitals cannot treat normal people without police consent. It basically stated that without review and approval of the case handling department of the public security organs, mental health hospitals should not admit people who are not mental patients. So it confirmed that, one, mental hospitals are allowed to, quote unquote, treat normal people with the approval of the police. And two, mental hospitals had treated normal people with and without the approval of the police. And three, whether to treat mental patients or not is not decided by physicians at hospitals, but by public security or the police. So that brings us to the question, how many dissidents are imprisoned in China or are imprisoned in mental institutions in China? We don't know the exact number, but we do know that the group that has been the most targeted for psychiatric abuse and persecution is Falun Gong. The CCP treats Falun Gong practitioners who refuse to give up the meditation practice as mentally ill. So they are sent to mental hospitals for quote-unquote treatment. This started around the year 2000. And in 2004, the International Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong found that more than 1,000 Falun Gong meditators were persecuted in mental hospitals from the year 1999 to 2003, in 4 years. They also conducted an undercover telephone survey of more than 100 mental hospitals in 15 provinces. 83% of the hospitals admitted having treated Falun Gong practitioners sent in by the police. 50% of them made it clear that the purpose of the treatment was to make these people give up practicing Falun Gong. And one practitioner by the name of Li Yixue from Shanghai was sent to a mental hospital 20 times in 16 years. This was reported later on. And she was severely, I mean, the previous report that I mentioned was released in 2004. That's 20 years ago. And their survey, their statistics was based on the 4 years of the persecution at that time, from 1999, the year the persecution started, to 2003. But 20 years have passed since the report was released. So how many more people are being or have been persecuted in mental institutions? We don't know. But there's this one woman who died in 2021 on New Year's Day. She's from Shanghai. She was sent to a mental hospital 20 times in 16 years. So CCP's 25 years of persecution of Falun Gong has led to the continuous deterioration of China's legal and law enforcement system. And the CCP's methods of persecuting Falun Gong have also been extended to all ordinary people, right? From organ harvesting to psychological abuse. In December 2021, a pregnant teacher in Hunan, her name is Li Tiantian, there she is. That was in December 2021, so about 3 years ago. She expressed support for a teacher in Shanghai who was fired by authorities for questioning the official death toll of the Nanjing massacre during World War II. The police, because she voiced her support for this teacher who was fired because he questioned the real death toll of Nanjing massacre, the police broke into her home and took her to a mental hospital. She was 4 months pregnant at the time. And after her story went viral on the internet, the authorities released her. But a few months later, she said that she decided to escape and moved away. I don't know where she moved to, but she could no longer live in Hunan. And then there was another woman. This woman is famous. This woman is her name is Dong Yaoqiong. In July 2018, she threw ink at a big poster of Xi Jinping in Shanghai to make a statement opposing his tyranny, and she live streamed her action while it happened. She was arrested and sent to a mental hospital. She was released on bail in November 2019, more than a year later. And in December 2020, she posted a video on Twitter saying that she was under high pressure surveillance and was afraid that she might be locked up in the mental institution for the rest of her life. And she was detained soon after that. We don't know where she is now. So, this political abuse of psychiatry. Do I have another picture? I don't have another picture. Yeah. I want to talk about this later, but it came from Soviet Union. Khrushchev, the former Soviet leader, had a famous saying that only madmen cannot see the bright prospect of Soviet socialism. It said that based on his words, the KGB sent political dissidents to mental hospitals. And since the 1960s, the Soviet Union has established special mental hospitals to persecute political dissidents. And in 1983, the World Congress of Psychiatry expelled the Soviet Psychiatric Association due to its abuse. And it was estimated that at the time that at least 700,000 political dissidents were imprisoned in mental hospitals. Excuse me. So China learned this from the Soviets. Chinese mental institutions were built, the first batch of them were built in 1987, and they were called Ankang hospitals. And they were managed by the Ministry of Public Security. I mean, could you imagine mental hospitals being managed by the police, by the Ministry of Public Security? I mean, that spells problems, right? And despite widespread evidence, the International Congress of Psychiatry has not yet spoken out against Beijing's political abuse of psychiatry. Unlike what they did in the 1980s against the Soviets, they're being very weak on the Chinese. And so here I'm showing you this chart, this image. It's posted on the website of the Chinese procurator's website, the Chinese People's General Procurator's office or website had this article. It says the title is Ankang hospitals, which are the mental hospitals set up by the police. Ankang Hospital is the best place to execute compulsory medical treatment. Huh? I mean, yeah, this is official. They're not even shying away from this. And it reads, and this was from March 19th, 2014. And the source is from the Procurator's Daily. And so it reads like this. It says, for the compulsory medical treatment procedures newly added to the criminal procedure law, due to the lack of specific implementation rules, many difficulties have been encountered in judicial practice. The agency that executes legal orders is now too market-oriented. The law does not require the qualifications of compulsory medical treatment institutions. Listen to this. As long as it is a mental hospital, it can be sent, meaning that the individuals can be sent there for treatment. However, during the treatment process, some hospitals are unwilling to accept such patients due to their own interests or risks. I think financial interests. Resulting in the rejection of some mentally ill patients sent for treatment. That's all. I mean, that's all I have. What can I say? I haven't prepared a summary for this. I think this. I mean, this case has been censored on the Chinese internet, and but I think, judging by the amount of, by how people responded to Miss Li's case, I see a difference. I think people really felt that they've had enough, because the only thing she did was speaking the truth, and as a result, she was, she was tortured. She was sent to mental institution to be tortured. And so this is a truth that the Chinese public wasn't aware of, or wasn't aware of for the most part. And now that has become a dire reality to them. And I think people are not going to accept it. I think people are going to fight it. Today, I have a fan who sent me an email expressing his wish for wishing me a 2025 to be filled with positivity and prosperity. And I feel like, it's very difficult, particularly the positivity part. I mean, I can't worry about the prosperity part. But what I do, I mean, every day, I follow, the latest development in China. So cases like this is very hard, because they're certainly not positive. But the only thing I can do, I mean, the only positive thing that comes out of this entirely negative news is that we need to keep exposing them. We need to keep telling the story, because I seriously feel today, as I was preparing for this, that this could happen to me. Had I stayed in China, had I never left China, I think, knowing me, I think I could very well end up like Miss Li. So yeah. So with that said, I wrap up my presentation. Okay, let's see what people have for me. I didn't see Western media reporting this. I see South China Morning Post had a story today about this case, but Western media, I didn't see them. I mean, how could they not report this? If they care about China's human rights, if they care about women's rights, they should report this story. So I'm calling on mainstream media to do something, to give voice to the voiceless. Okay, I see a lot of comments. I don't see questions. That's good. That's good. All right, that's all. I guess I'll end it early today. Let's see. I don't see any. Oh, Texas Panda. I understand your emotions to this, and I'm sorry it had effect on you. Yeah, it's, you know. Yeah, somebody wrote, she touched people's heart. She does. Yeah. Johnny Garner, Lay, the truth is always the enemy of communism. Are we seeing the actual breaking point of the CCP? I think it's almost there. The economy is really bad. Have you seen videos that people posted online about stores closing? And people even commented the empty subway stations in Beijing. People are asking, where are the people? And that's a good question. I think China, going back to my previous claim, I think China lost a large percentage of its population during COVID. And also a lot of the migrant workers returned to the countryside. So you don't see as many people in the city as before. Nihita, I found recently that President Xi was the only one to be born after CCP was established when compared to other presidents were born before it's, yeah, excuse me. So that means people call him elementary school student because he was in elementary school when the Cultural Revolution broke out. So he was never never received proper schooling in his younger years. So that's why people say he's not very well educated. Boy Kachina learned love from an 8th grade French teacher and would have fought the police to protect our child. You too, Lei. Thank you forever. Well, thank you. Thank you, boy. Thank you. Ian Slater. I'm going to see Shenyun in March, and what should I know about their history? Are they connected to Falun Gong? Well, they are founded by Falun Gong. They are founded by Falun Gong practitioners, but I'm just surprised. Why are people so obsessed with, like, who founded Shenyun? Like, I mean, you have Christmas Spectacular here, but people are not obsessed with. I mean, you have media outlets here, but people are not obsessed with the religion that the founders of certain media outlets or certain performing arts group. I'm sure there are performing art groups established by Jewish people or established by Christians or Catholics or a large percentage of the performers or any organization. It doesn't have to be performing arts, are, practice a religion, right? Let's say you have 70% of a performing arts group practice one religion or believing something or believing one ideology. But people are not obsessed with that. People don't ask that question. Oh, so is this, I mean, it's wrong. Isn't it politically wrong to ask, well, is this group gay or is this group this or that? I mean, it's right. Isn't it wrong? But why are people so obsessed with with Shen Yun? Well, it is. I mean, it says on its website that it's founded by Falun Gong practitioners who are persecuted in China, and they want to present China before communism. Actually, people. I just read somebody who wrote today. He said that if you look at the various groups, the various anti-CCP groups based outside China, because they're different. There are the Taiwanese, there are the pro-democracy movement, there are the dissident groups. I mean, there are the Tibetans. I mean, there are various groups, and then there's the Falun Gong, and they're saying that the Falun Gong is the least infiltrated by the CCP. And they also have the biggest impact, and so but that also makes the CCP fear them the most. So so I think it's part of the CCP narratives to always link Shen Yun with Falun Gong, and then they defame Falun Gong. So it's like when you go see a show, you go because it's beautiful, or you liked their program, or you want to find out what it is. Who cares who founded it, right? I mean, who cares? I do not care. I would go if I like the program, or if I think I'll like the program. So the fact that people kept asking, I'm not saying, I with all respect to my fan, I'm not saying that it's wrong of you to ask me that question. I understand your question, but I think it came from some kind of narratives that has been pushed onto us by the CCP. So that's my comment. Sorry, I might have. From Roseanne Kiyomaka. How can people fight back? Like that person said, keep posting it. Keep making the fellow Chinese, be aware of what's happening in their own country. I mean, the saddest thing is the Chinese are not necessarily aware of what's happening, how their own fellow citizens are being persecuted in mental institutions. I think just by keep posting it, keep telling her story, or keep telling the stories that she told. I think that's the best way. Norbert Klotz, the police has nothing to do with the PLA. It sounds that they are an unsupervised organization with extreme power over every citizen. Who does control the brainwashed police? Well, the police is controlled by the Ministry of Public Security. Right, they're not, and there's also the armed police force that's part of the PLA. They're different. So the armed police force is not deployed unless there's a major unrest. But the police in the local police station does the grassroots work, and they're managed by the Ministry of Public Security. Who does control the brainwashed police? Yeah, the Ministry of Public Security. Vern Duiker, mainstream media needs to verify the information. What do they do this with story? I mean, the mainstream media have reported so much untruthful stories without verification. So why are they so concerned with verification when it comes to human rights abuses in China? They have double standard. There's so many false stories that they pushed out without verification, with partial information. Why are they? I mean, what they can say is, I mean, this is what's being discussed on social media. Like what I do, I'm not gonna say this is what people are saying. This is what people are discussing. They could present how information is presented on social media, and that's all. So, I think they need to. I think it's their responsibility. Okay, here's a question from Steve Dobson. Thank you for keeping the world informed, but I worry about the stress that brings for you. You worry about the stress that brings for me. What can we do? What can we do to de-stress Lei? What do you think? Send her to a cruise? I took a week off and sent her to a vacation. Send her flowers and teas. I don't know. Well, send me encouraging notes. I think it was very nice of the fan who sent me the note today with the message. So yeah, keep encouraging me. Well, thank you for the thought. Johnny Garner. Well, thank you, Johnny. Okay, let's see. Wilson Dizzard. Thank you, Wilson. 3 weeks in Thailand. 3 weeks in Thailand. Wow, that's a thought. Okay, is Thailand that fun? Anyways, I have not think about. I think cruise. I have not think about. European cruise would be interesting. River cruise. What do you think? Well, anyways, that's for a different time. Okay, Wilson Dizzard. Have you watched the movie Citizen X? It's partly about psychiatry abuse by the Communist Party of Soviet Union and about how there were some ethical psychiatrists in the USSR. I have not seen that movie. Sleeping Lafay. Can you look for Li Feifei? She's still out there as rampant spy me things. Yeah, thousand talent. Li Feifei, the former board member of Twitter, right? The Chinese AI expert. I think she was a college professor from UCLA. She's a college professor teaching AI in California. She used to sit on the board of Twitter, now X. She's still out there as a rampant talent agent. Yeah. Very sad. Very sad. How can we, for Norbert Klotz, how can we unorganized social media crowd even think about taking on local brainwashed police? I don't think the local police was brainwashed. I mean, they know what they're doing. I think the local police is not brainwashed. You know, the local police have access to the internet without the firewall. Yeah, at certain ranks, they can access the internet without the firewall. So these people know the truth. I think they do it because it's to protect their job. They'll be in trouble because they will be in trouble if they feel that they will be threatened. Their position, their jobs will be threatened if they don't do something. Because once the atrocities at the mental hospitals were exposed, then they're in trouble. So they're only doing this to cover up for themselves. Johnny Garner, do you know how much we love you? I do and I don't, because this is a virtual event. I think I do now. Well, thank you. Thank you. Someone said, Brian Jackson, 31. I'm sorry, it's only going to get more exciting with January and this high possibilities of world recession. I agree. When I thought about prosperity and positivity, I kind of worry about them for 2025. Jeff Ramos, brand of tea you recommend to relax after a day of work? Well, thank you. I'll go back to my Assam tea with mozzarella cheese. I ran out of mozzarella cheese this week, and the stores are not open because of the holidays. Maybe that's why Lei's a little stressed. I miss my mozzarella cheese in the tea. That's an honest truth. Okay, all right. Let's see. Lei is actually very easy to please. A cup of good tea will cheer her up. All right. Actually, sending her to a cruise is not a good idea because it will make her so happy that she does not want to return. And then you guys won't have a program. All right. Mitch, what's your thought of Trump going into office and the CCP? Well, that's a big topic. I'm going to cover that. I think the CCP is scared. I just read somewhere today that Xi Jinping scolded the foreign minister Wang Yi because of his misjudgment of the US election. Because Xi Jinping was told that regardless of who wins the White House, the US, the American society would be divided and descend into chaos. And that didn't happen. So that was misinformation on the part of the foreign minister. So Xi Jinping was upset. That's I can't confirm that, but that's what I heard. I think it's likely. So they misjudged the U.S. election. They misjudged the American people's ability to make consensus. Okay, Woodstock. Have you tried Kit Kat chocolate wafer biscuits yet, or quality sheet chocolate? Is that because I mentioned I told you the story about Kit Kat? It's a mouthful to say. No, not lately. I have indulged on dark chocolate truffles lately because I was given that as a holiday gift. And actually that, and also milk chocolate truffle with pistachio fillings. It's very tasty. So, all right. But yeah, I think that tastes better than Kit Kat. All right. Lei has very exotic taste of things, of food. Okay. Give them a try. You'll like them both. Okay, I will. Netflix foreign. Maybe you go to South Korea and investigate the university and the Xi thought department. Yeah, speaking of South Korea, did you see the protest organized by Yoon's supporter? They organized a massive protest or rally. Actually, I should say rally in support of the president. So it's getting interesting. I wanted to make a program on that. All right, a trip to the Fiji Islands and do a live in your hotel room and relax on the beach every day. Good idea. All right, I'll think about it. All right. Is she coming for inauguration? I have not heard. I don't think so. Have we said that he's not coming? Although who knows? He will surprise us the last minute. Okay, that's all for tonight. I thank you everyone for joining me and supporting me. I'll see you in a few days. Okay. All right. And meanwhile, I'll have some more tea and chocolate and think about my upcoming cruise somewhere. Thank you for trying to cheer me up. Bye-bye.